but also, and this is really important, acknowledging and appreciating who you are. So the paradox is, I want to be more successful. You know, I want to have much more reach than I've got, Harvey. Hi, it's Rob Moore here, and I'm with Andrew Harvey. His friends call him Harvey. I hope I'm friendly enough with you, Andrew, to call you Harvey.
I hope so.
Andrew Harvey of Growth Properties. Andrew's building a great brand in the property space. I know he really believes in the life leverage philosophy and, you know, building like a remote power team. So Harvey has asked to interview me for his channels, his podcast, and this is also being live streamed on my Facebook page, my YouTube channel. We're going to talk about marketing, launching. Often in business and entrepreneurship, you're taught about the product and service. You know, you train to be the coach, the consultant, but rarely are you taught how important the marketing element, the launching, the personal brand to actually get the customers. A lot of people focus on the product, but not the customers. So we'll probably go into some strategies and tactics maybe you're not usually taught at business school. So Harvey, I'm all yours. Thanks for having me on your show.
Oh, thank you for giving me the time, Rob. I'm really sort of highly honoured. And also, I'm going to put it straight out there. I find it's a good technique for me, and I've been saying to other people about getting yourself out there. I think a good technique to put it out there straight away is to sort of put it in the ether and say, pretty nervous about this. I'm not going to lie with that, but putting it out there sort of puts it just on a stage straight away and trying to take the pressure off myself, kind of. But I'll come across you, Rob, you and Mark in end of 2013, multiple streams of property income. I come to London, big event it was there, and I was at, you're known as a disruptive entrepreneur, and it absolutely blew me away, and it massively disrupted my life at the time, like for the good and for the bad, but in the long run for the really good. But I went through a sort of a transition period to like with that sort of thing. So what happens, I come to in 2013, I was like, wow, I'd always been sort of entrepreneurish, always worked for myself, and so loads of the concepts you was all drilling into us was really sort of resonating with me. But the biggest takeaway I took from that was the 70-20-10 rule. There's loads of takeaways, by the way, but that 70-20-10 rule was a good takeaway, and I learned it the hard way because I got the concept of it, but I still didn't apply it straight afterwards. So I come back to multiple streams of property income about 3 or 4 times, I think it was, in Peterborough as well. I really just consumed so much of it, but it just dove me in so deep. I was working in a not working, but I had a fadding business at the time, a coffee shop, which was solely set up purely to fund my property deals. And when I've come to multiple streams of property income, I realised this is the wrong move. I need to get rid of that, cut my losses. But then I tried running too fast. The concept of 70-20-10 resonated with me, but I thought, oh no, a little bit better like we do. My ego got in the way, and I tried spinning too many plates too quick. As a result, I had a bit of a burnout, you know. And when I say a bit of a burnout, over my history, you probably resonate with this because of your past and your dad and everything. I've had 3 major sort of, not major, 2 major sort of burnouts, which was sectioned under the Mental Health Act. And once at 21, once at 24, and then in 2014, it started rumbling up again because I was taking on too much and not sleeping. I was so excited, but I had a stressful business over here that was fadding. I was so excited trying to run forward with all these new concepts I was learning. I had to just press the reset button, and that's when I really dove into sort of my mindset-y sort of stuff, kind of drifting off of where we're at here. But it disrupted me massively, but it also re-educated myself, because all I've done is I started consuming too much content, and I was up all night thinking of all these different things, and then sleep deprivation kicked in, and it does weird and wonderful things to you. And yeah, it kind of disrupted me massively, but it set me on a great path because I consumed so much information in a short period of time, and then rewired my brain kind of to consume like high volumes of information, and also really dug deep to understand myself, to be able to like know that I need mindful practice, I need rest time, I need to reset my mind. I can't just power through off of ego and energy and excitement. I've got to like reset myself. So it set me on a complete new path. Did disrupt me, but it also, I think the biggest disruptions is also what gives you the biggest sort of leading points. But as I said at the start, so I'm a little bit nervous about this. Back then, I pictured it and I thought, wow, like I could do this. So one of my questions, and my first questions to you is, I noticed Mark Victor Hansen. Wow, what a big player and what a great interview you've done with him the other day. And billionaires, you're interviewing these bigger people. And I've watched your transition. I've studied what you do. Obviously, the quickest way to get somewhere is to look at other people in a similar industry and model them, not copy them, but model them, see what they're doing, see what works for them. And in our industry, obviously, there's no really bigger and better name to model. You know, obviously, I look at everybody, but I've watched your transition through your podcast and everything and listened to your interviews. And one that really resonates with me is the Goggins one. You like to see a real relaxedness with him. That's probably, for me, watching you engage with somebody, I enjoyed that the most. All those other ones I enjoy. But the Mark Victor Hansen the other day, I noticed the enormity of the whole thing. I want to say you was nervous, but I could tell you could see, like, wow, this, like, I could see you was in awe. I remember you even saying it once, like, no, I can just listen to you. So how do you deal with that? You interviewed billionaires, Goggins, famous people. How do you deal with that when you're interviewing someone above your sort of remit and you're going into them arenas first of all?
Well, first off, Harvey, I ideally like to interview people who are above my remit, above my station. I like to punch above my weight. That's not to say that if I'm further ahead on my journey with someone, they're less valuable and important, but it challenges me to grow. So if I interview someone with a bigger following than me, in their niche, maybe they're more successful than me, they can do more press ups than me, they've made more money than me, they've got a bigger social media following. That challenges me to grow. And I love to put myself in situations where I'm challenged to grow. And, you know, ego manifests in many ways. And one of the ways the ego can manifest is you can play a bit small and be scared, you know, to feel like you should be in the same dialogue or conversation as someone above you. And how I've learned to get over that is to understand that, you know, maybe my ultimate interview would be Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I've met Arnold Schwarzenegger and spent some time with him. And he's quite a lot shorter than me, even though he looks 6'10". He dyes his hair. I know, because I've seen it this close up. I actually saw down on it. He's aging like every human being ages. And he's just a normal guy. And he was very nice and down to earth. And that was my great lesson in life way back. This was a few years ago when I met him, that none of us above us and none of us are below us. We're all just on the same level. We're all human beings. So that being said, I'm looking to interview human beings in the areas that I want to master and the areas my community and followers and subscribers want to learn: business, entrepreneurship, mindset, property, you know, all those kind of things. I'm looking to get some big players. Now, I try to go to people I'm already a fan of because I think there's more natural connection. I will occasionally disrupt myself. I do like to do this. So there's 2 or 3 guests I've had I'm not necessarily a fan of, to challenge my thinking on my comfort zone. But put that aside, I usually like to interview people I'm a fan of. I've studied their work. I know them. Like with Mark Victor Hansen, I saw him speak many years ago, and he said most people have a few goals or no goals. I have 200 goals a year. And he inspired me to go from writing 3 goals a year to 200 goals a year. And now all of a sudden, he's asked me to be a case study in his book. He's connected me with a load of people. I've connected him with a load of people. He's speaking at my Young Entrepreneurs Summit. So it's amazing how these things manifest. So what I was in awe of Mark Victor Hansen was his energy at 72. I mean, 500 million books, that is just unbelievable. I'd have to write 100 million books to sell 500 million books. But he's written and co-written 312 books, sold 500 million. And to me, that's amazing. But his energy at 72 was great. So, yeah, the very thing I'm scared of, the very thing that I'm uncomfortable with, the very thing that will challenge me, I want to go and hunt it out. And that's always my goal. And sometimes I think there's no way this person would be on my podcast. I'm trying to get Vivienne Westwood, Ronnie O'Sullivan, Damien Hirst. There's a few other big names I'm trying to get them. The ego inside of me, but the fear-based ego goes, they're too big for you. They're huge names. You're massive fans of them. There's no way they don't listen to your shit. They don't want to hear your crap. They're not into and all these voices. But I just go, no. How do I not know that? and I'm quite fortunate now that a lot of people that I try and get in touch with to be on my show actually are already fans of my show or already followers of my work. Katie Price was when I got her, Katie Piper was when I got her on my podcast. I just agreed the UK's youngest self-made millionaire to be on my Young Entrepreneur Summit. And he just wanted to chat with me. And I thought he wanted to chat with me to sort out all the details. And I was like, man, 17 years old, UK's, not anymore, but he was, UK's youngest self-made millionaire. You're a legend. And he phones me and goes, Rob, I just want to say, I'm a massive fan of your work. I love what you do. I've been studying you for years. I listened to your podcast. You got me through some challenging times. So, the bigger the brand you build, you can surprise yourself. You put people up there on a pedestal, but people are putting you up on a pedestal. And let's be honest, what greater thing in life is there than hanging around with really cool, interesting, successful people and learning from them? I mean, there's not, if there were no thing as work, there were no thing as the modern monetary system, we're all just given credits the same amount. Would I want to go and interview my heroes and the people who are the biggest in their industries? I'd do that for free. I'd pay for that. If you said to me, Rob, would you pay 10 grand to get on Joe Rogan or Tim Ferriss? Would you pay 15, 20 grand to get Arnold Schwarzenegger on your podcast? I would. Yeah, that would be worth it for me. I would love to do that. So look, you got to enjoy what you do. And on the final thing, I think we take life way too seriously. And there are people in the third world that have to walk 20 miles for water. There are people dying and getting murdered and raped and kidnapped and abused, and there's human trafficking and this horrible disease. And you and I, Harvey, and everyone watching, we should be fucking grateful because we don't have to deal with any of that. And I try and do everything with a bit of a smile on my face, have a bit of a laugh, a bit of banter, even have a bit of banter with my trolls, try and take the piss out of them when they try and take the piss out of me. Because I think life's too short to take yourself too seriously.
Yeah, for sure. I love that approach with your trolls as well. That's probably one of the things I was thinking about, because so many people, one of the biggest things that holds people back is that fear factor, and them internal voices that you just talked about. Understanding we've all got internal dialogues, no matter how big you are. I think it's one of I went to your friends with us. It's Shaz. I can never pronounce. I remember her surname. I went to one of her. Yeah, that's it. Yep. Went to one of her seminars before, and she said, I love this, it stuck with me all the time. Certain things, sometimes when you consume a lot of information, sometimes certain things stick with me. She said that we all get that little voice, but the more successful you get, the better you are at telling that little voice to F off. So we're going to get them. And the difference, again, another person I really like and admire and follow, Mel Robbins, she said the 5-second rule. She said, look, you've got a 5-second interruption pattern in your brain before that kicks in. And we'll get that. And that's just a protective mechanism to keep us protected. But obviously our subconscious brain don't know the difference between being fearful that I'm going to speak to Rob Moore or the difference I'm going to be fearful about to be run over. It just releases the same chemicals. So so many people get bottlenecked and held back. One of the questions, again, leads into that, what I wasn't initially on here as well, is how do people push themselves forward out of that zone really? I see one of the biggest leverage points is getting yourself out there and getting yourself known. So your podcast, your personal brand. But the biggest bottleneck is that people are too scared to actually stand in front of the camera, myself included. When I first started, I said I was never going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And then after a while, I realized you've got to do what you don't want to do to move forward. And now I actually enjoy it. Even though I'm nervous about this situation, I am enjoying it, so.
Yeah. Okay. So it really depends on the individual and it depends what you're scared of. But there was this really good book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. I can't remember if it was Susan Jeffers. I think it was Susan Jeffers, or it might have been Julie Furnham. It was one of the two authors. And in reality, often the thing you fear the most, as long as it's not life-threatening, because some people are like, yeah, go all in, go big or go home. Don't take massive, scary risks that could, really, don't go and speak at a seminar in front of 5,000 people when you've never done it before. So I think take incrementally ever increasing risks and challenges. But usually the thing you're scared of is the thing you've got to face and actually do. But it does depend what that is, whether that's public speaking. Is it that some people don't like the way they look? Some people don't like the way they sound. Some people are worried about making mistakes publicly. Some people are worried that critics will pick them apart. Or some people are worried about being judged. There's so many different situations that people have going on. So what I would say is, to try and answer the question for everyone, is what's the bigger pain? So I hated doing live videos when I started 10 years ago. I thought it was embarrassing to do a selfie and maybe a little bit self-aggrandizing, and I didn't really like that style. I don't like the way I speak. I think I'm a bit lazy with the way I speak, although Americans love my accent. Just English people don't ever say that, but Americans do, so there's always an upside. But for me, a bigger pain than how I sound and how I look and what my critics might say is staying in the same place and never achieving my dreams and my goals. And I want to make a big difference on this planet. I want to help as many people on this planet start and scale their business and get a better financial education. I want to empower the next generation. I want to help millions of entrepreneurs. I want to help people make money, make a difference, give back. I have a foundation, the Rob Moore Foundation, that does that from a philanthropic perspective. And that greater desire, that bigger version of me, pales my challenges into tiny, insignificant things. So compare the pain. What's more painful, doing a live or never achieving your dreams and goals and vision? For me, never achieving my dreams and goals and vision. Also, remember I said just in the last answer, if you don't take yourself too seriously, then, criticize you, troll you, you mess up. I went live this morning, 5 minutes in, fucked it up. Just said, sorry, fucked it up, started again. And if someone's going to go, I hate Rob, Rob is the Antichrist, Rob is Satan, I am blocking Rob and I am reporting Rob to Facebook because he tried to do a Facebook and he messed up and he started again, well, then that's on them and that's not on me. I can't help that. But I think when you don't take yourself too seriously, take your work seriously, take your art form seriously, but not yourself. And when you bring a lightness and a humor and a bit of sort of banter and fun. Sadhguru, he's a spiritual teacher and he's just really quite a fun guy and he doesn't take himself too seriously. He's always trying to crack these little jokes. And I just think that that's a great way to live life. And when you're like that, people connect with you, they support you. When you make mistakes, they'll, back you and they'll fight your corner. I also know that most people don't want to fail, therefore they'll hide away from situations that are risky to them. Most people don't want to be criticized, and so they'll hide away from situations like that. And that makes me want to go headfirst into it. Because if 95% of people can't face those demons and overcome them, which it takes to be successful, then that gives me a strategic advantage. I'll take everyone's critics and trolls, because I know the more critics and trolls and haters I have, I will have 10 times as many followers and fans. So I don't mind bring them on because the upside is huge. It's also an understanding of what life is like. There is no success without failure. Success is failure. There is no love without hate. There is no upside without downside. Therefore, there is no fan without a critic. There is no, evangelist of you without a hater and a troll of you. It's impossible. So when you understand those universal laws of balance and upside and downside, then you accept it's part of the journey. So if I build a new brand, start a new company, I know I'm going to get more haters, more critics. I know I'm going to get more challenge, more difficulty, as well as more upside. And some people are it's in a way a bit arrogant, isn't it? To expect that you can have freedom and choice and profit and lifestyle and leverage and none of the downside. That is not how life works. That is not how the universe works. This mindset has helped me take risks, get uncomfortable, keep pushing myself forward, keep going, keep growing, keep learning. Basically, if you get too cocky, the world will humbleize you. If you become too humble, the world will lift you up. So you'll always get the feedback. And then that just keep you moving forward. The more you learn, the more you earn.
Yeah, for sure. A couple of points you touched on there. Again, this is going right off a script for me, but a couple of points you touched on there. That saying from, I think I heard Tim Ferriss first say it, that's what got me over doing my first videos. The thing you need to do the least is the thing you need to do the most. And I realised it one day and I thought, exactly there, that's how I comparable at the time. I thought, do a selfie, don't like doing them. Didn't like social media, full stop. I was never had a personal account until I come to multiple streams of property income and I wanted to join your group. So that's the only reason I signed up to Facebook. Before then, I didn't even have an account. But that's how I started weighting my head. Do a selfie, do a video, or maybe struggle a little bit for money. Money here, I don't like this, but I don't like struggling for money either, you know? So you start weighing them up in your head, and that's what broke me through. But I must admit, I still took ages to do my first live. And again, it was a pain point. So for me, what happened was I was doing videos every week and back to a week, but never live. Didn't have the courage to do it. Then the lockdown first hit, and I got a lettings company that took ages to settle. I just run off buying properties, didn't pay attention to the lettings, hired a few people, thought I could manage it, give them a few books, and didn't give it enough attention. It wasn't solid enough to do that at that stage. So I had to humble myself, say slow down buying properties, even though that's what I love doing. And I didn't stop buying, but just slowed down buying properties. I need to work on that, get a team, get an operations manager in there, solid, get the processes in place, and then get back to buying properties. We just got that settled at the start of this year. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get back to buying some properties now, a bit more in love. In the background as well, I was ticking away. I always wanted to launch doing like coaching. I've had so many people that over the years, just my normal videos, reach out for me in a sense of a reward from that. When they say, do you know what, I bought 10 properties because I see some of your videos. I bought my first property because I've seen some of your videos. Or do you mentor? And I was like, no, I've got too much going on over here to think about it. But then I started edging towards that, but I was still a little bit scared, even though I know the psychology behind it. I still went through them internal dialogues, say people don't buy my product, say if nobody likes it. Worse for me, say nobody gets results with it. You know, I really was like wrestling with that with myself. And then COVID happened. And I was like, okay, this lettings company that I've been just about keeping above water and it's been draining me elsewhere of resources, it's just doing well, is threatened. Also, I had a portfolio build. I had 2 deals in legals. I had about 4 other deals lined up. And I was like, they all stopped. And I'm like, that's my main overhead that supports a lettings company when it's struggling. And I'm like, I can see my burn rate here. I'm like, I've not got as much. I don't know how long it's going to last. So I was like, okay, I've got 2 options here. I either try and excel through this situation, take some of that money. I bought one of your courses. I bought another course. I bought the podcast course. I bought a few other things. Invest in myself. It's a strategic investment as well because I knew I had a leverage point anyway. And get over myself and start doing live videos every day. So the pain of thinking, look, everything could collapse around me, what I've just really built for years, or doing a live video, it was like, you know what, to get out my own way, start doing them daily. And from that point, from the start of lockdown, I'm doing them daily. And the engagement I'm getting now is not huge and comparable to some, but it's fantastic. And the feedback I'm getting from that as well is, but exactly what you went on to there is yeah, you've got to measure them pains, haven't you? What's the bigger pain, you know, doing a live video or potentially my work of 5 years kind of going down the drain? And yeah, I just had to move myself out of there. But yeah, it's interesting that you sometimes need a bigger picture to look at that bigger pain point. Quick question I've got for you here is, this is completely random. How often do you speak to Mark now? How often are you crossing paths and everything? The thing that made me giggle the other day, I was listening to how to invest money and how you would invest money. And you said you interviewed Nolan from the book How to Hire Steve Jobs. And he went, really? And you could see the genuine like impressedness and surprise of that, you know? And I was thinking, oh, I wonder how often, like, obviously I know you take over that side of it and he does the property development side of it, but yeah, it made me chuckle when he's genuine was like impressed. I could see he couldn't hide that impressedness from you.
Yeah, probably once a week, maybe.
Yeah.
In the lockdown, when it first kicked off, we were meeting a lot more to put our heads together to try and solve the challenges. And Mark, you know, rolled his sleeves up and got a bit more involved in the training business to help us out. So yeah, but at the moment, probably once a week. Mark's busy with a couple of big developments we've got going on. I've retired from operational involvement in our training companies, but of course that's freed a lot of time. And so I'm writing books and doing more interviews. I'm doing the Young Entrepreneurs Summit, Feb 2021. So, you know, I'm keeping my hands busy doing other things. So I just want to make one point and then you can chuck me your next question, Harvey. I think a lot of people perceive that there's a destination where there is an end, where everything that they want, they've got, and none of the challenges will come their way. That is a delusion. And from my experience in running companies for 15 years and being 41 years old and having mentors far more wise and experienced than me, there is always a challenge. There's a downside to every upside and there's an upside to every downside. This exists in a paradox because some people are like, oh, when does it ever end as an entrepreneur? You know, you want $3,000 a month, then 5, then 10, then 20, then 50. When does it ever end? How many properties do you need to be financially free? When are you a success? It doesn't ever end. It doesn't, because what happens is you get to a level And what once was quite an aspirational goal and level to you is now just a new normal, and your lifestyle and your mindset adjusts, and then you need to seek something further. And it's like the exploration mindset. Human beings we are built to explore, and we want to explore this planet, and we want to explore the universe. And it's like that with levels of success. You want to explore the next level and the next level, and that's often why we compare ourselves to other people. There is no destination where you have no downside and all upside. Also, if it's going really badly, that doesn't stay forever, where it's all downside and no upside. So as an entrepreneur, we've got to embrace both support and challenge equally, growth and progress, and chaos and messiness and equally. So I believe success is being valuable and useful to people, having a meaningful product and service that makes a difference in the world, and then moving to higher levels of results and achievement. But also, and this is really important, acknowledging and appreciating who you are. So the paradox is, I want to be more successful. I want to have much more reach than I've got, Harvey. I want to have global reach. And whilst I have listeners in 204 countries on my podcast, 80% of them are UK. And I'd love to have millions of listeners in every country. I want to help millions of people, not just hundreds of thousands. But if I'm always looking at that and not going, oh, wait a minute, Rob, 15 years ago, you were 15 grand in debt and you were inspiring no one. And now you inspire, maybe I've inspired more than 1 million people. I probably have. I've got 1.2 million followers across all my social media and content platforms. Maybe I've inspired 1 million people. Maybe I've inspired 3 million people. And all right, it's not 10 million or 100 million like the Dalai Lama, but my life is different and I'm little old me. So pat yourself on the back for what you've done. Love yourself for who you are. But there's always more. There's always another level. And people are like, oh, I just want to get there and stop and, drink cocktails and be on a beach and do nothing and chill. I can guarantee you this. When you get there, you'll be bored within 7 minutes. Because I've been there myself. I've retired loads of times. You will be bored in 9 minutes. You have to be valuable and useful to society to feel good and worthy. And that whole will build within you. So there's always challenge as well as there is support. There's always upside as well as there is downside. And that is wisdom. So I've had some challenging times over the last 9 months, some personal, some business. And it's been one of the hardest years I've ever had, probably, Harvey. But it's also been one of the best years I've ever had. We're making more margin now since the lockdown. I had a brilliant week yesterday. Loads of cool stuff happened. And in my mind, I was like, right, get ready Monday morning for at least 3 pieces of shit news to come my way. And by 10 a.m. Monday morning, 3 pieces of shit news had come my way. And then when I've had a shit week, I always go, wait for those 3 pieces of good news to come my way. There is equal challenge and support. And people they put themselves in an extreme. They're either like, I want everything to be great. And I've got this dream, delusion. Oh, everything's shit. I'm nothing. I'm useless. Delusion. So this duality and this trying to split these paradoxes, I think, is where a lot of people go wrong in life.
Yeah, for sure. I think it was a Buddha quote from years ago. It said the biggest form of suffering is an unrealistic expectation of what perfect or happy is. The thought of thinking that's going to be perfect is the biggest form of suffering. Buddhism's probably quoted as one of the most meant to be the happiest things, but the 4 noble truths are all about pain. And he says that's just life. It's the way you sort of deal and align to it that really is ultimately how you sort of get your fulfillment out of that. And I'll put this saying to people: everybody wants a 6-pack, but nobody wants to give up sugar and do a sit-up, and that's the same with business. Everybody wants a business, but they don't realise there's a side thing that goes with it. I can go from one morning being elated, and then later on that day, I'm like, oh no, is it going to work? And doubting myself. In one day, I can go for a whole cycle, then I can go for a whole week, and then I have a few days afterwards. So I've always had them balances out. And a saying from Sadhguru, I follow him as well, that you said really inspires me, is he says, everybody's looking for the end. He said, but what happens when you're at the end? Think of life. He said, you're dead, so why do you want the end? It's a journey. Enjoy them moments of as we go along. But so many people are just in a hurry, and I've been there as well, in a hurry, thinking that you need to have this there. And yeah, it's a hard paradox to sort of get your head around, understanding that is a journey, that is part of it. But I think that leads us into quite nicely what I was going to ask next then, is I'm pretty new to the marketing side of things. I get it now. Funny enough, I've done videos about 5 years ago. I heard that quote from Tim Ferriss. I went to Bali, I'd done a training with Roger Hamilton in Bali, 2-week retreat, and they made us do videos there, and it putting me out of my comfort zone. I was like, I'm not going to do them. My videos were terrible as well, absolutely terrible. Come back, said I wasn't going to do them. Read something on Gary Vaynerchuk saying you've got to like just document what you do instead of trying to create these great documents. I see a guy in America do videos just putting up outside properties, saying this is what I bought walking around it. At the time, I was buying quite a few properties, so it worked easy for me. It was my kind of like step into it. But this is how much I get the power of marketing. I just done one of them like a couple of months as we buying properties, an odd video a week, and in the end I got more business than my business could handle. I didn't even strategically plan this. So I didn't have the systems in place because I was busy buying. I didn't have the systems in place for the lettings, which was probably in hindsight should have outsourced, but I didn't. And in the end I had to sort of unplug it. But this year I've sort of got a few more bits settled. I knew I wanted to go into the training and coaching space, so I thought, right, let's get back and study it. So last year I done an online training with Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins at Mastermind training. But then I come across a guy called Russell Brunson, never heard of him before. I showed you how bits are. I read his books, .com Secret, and it was like that puzzle bit. I was like, I could see how Rob does bits. I could see how it was that I got marketing, but not fully. I still don't get it fully now. I'm still a student to it. I'm still learning, but it really put the bits together. And the last year, I've been really, really diving deep on that and really trying to get the digital marketing side of it, the concept, and seeing where we're going forward. I'm a big fan of the futurism stuff as well. Read loads of stuff on where it's going. This, like, COVID's just disrupted what we're doing and fast forwarded it. This was always coming, people doing Zooms and people using tech, but I feel it's just fast forwarded it. But then watching your transition, you sort of openly admitted, said, look, we were so comfortable, we was doing good. It was scary to just take them next steps and push beyond there. But COVID ultimately was scary, but done you a favour because it forced you into doing them. But a quick question around them, just as a bit of a selfish one. When I'm studying, I can see everybody, like at the moment, I'm breaking down a product and what they're saying, and I'm studying as well, and I get this, and you've said this, I've learned it from you, it's solidifying. And it says, look, find other people that are in your space. You can leverage that, interview them, speak to them, broaden your market faster than probably anything else, and get into their spaces. But if I've got a product that I'm putting together, which is like steps. And I've noticed, like the way they're doing it, the funnels in America, you call it your vertical, like with your value ladder. At the bottom end, obviously, you give out content, then you go up to your next level with that. But I've noticed they've always sort of got like some sort of lead magnet, and then they've got some sort of smaller offer, which I noticed yours is just like a webinar funnel that goes straight to your webinar. Obviously, you deliver value on the webinar, and then at the end of that, do that. I tried the webinar funnel, and to be fair, it worked so much better when I've done the 6-stage launch. And it's exactly what, when I was reading .com Secrets, he said, look, everything's a micro niche. So work out what's working in your areas, your industries, see what other people are doing. So hence why I jumped on your training. And then that 6-stage launch was like massive for me. How I filled up my webinar after that was a lot different from the first time. But one question I've got for you, do you not use like these little order bumps and these the products in between? Is that a case where you was in your comfort zone before and just didn't adapt to that? Is that something that's coming, or is it just something that you've tested before and you don't think will work in the UK market? Because there is crossovers, isn't there? When you study American people, there is a slight crossover.
Yeah. So nearly 15 years ago, Mark and I, when we set up our company, were doing everything the same and together, both trying to sort the website, do the marketing, do the sales, acquire the properties, manage the refurbs, and we were getting in each other's way. And we sat down 6 months in and went, we need to delineate this. We've got literally got a piece of paper, put a line down the middle, Mark on the left, Rob on the right. Mark was finance, management, accounts, sourcing properties, managing properties. And I was sales, marketing, brand, etc. So about 6 months into the launch of my company, I didn't even know I was going to be doing this, Harvey, because I thought I was going to be doing property investing. All of a sudden, I'm the guy that's doing the sales, the marketing, the brand, the website, and everything else. And I went on this massive deep dive for many years, and I'm still a student of marketing, and I still try and learn every day today on marketing. So to bring this now forward to your answer, there is no right answer to your question other than what the test results provide. So I got asked this question yesterday and the day before, actually. Should I have some free content and then my next offer is £1,000 quid, 1,500 quid for my course? Or should I have, they've got all sorts of words for it, tripwires, order bumps, product magnets, you can call it what you like. So a 20, 30, 50 quid product. Well, actually, both can work, and there's upsides and downsides for each. So the upside of having a very low value or low cost product early in the client journey is, one, you're getting an initial purchase from them, which probably makes them more comfortable in giving you a purchase next time, because that first purchase with you is going to be their most risky, even if it's only 30 quid. So the argument is you're getting them while they're hot, they're freshly opted in or freshly found out about you. They make that initial purchase, so you remove some friction for the future purchase, and you can give them access to more information. And so maybe you'll convert more at your 1,000 quid, 1,500 quid product. But then the other side of the argument is that you've just given them a lead magnet, as you call it, or given them some free valuable information. Then you immediately try and sell them. And they might think that's a bit too soon, even if it's only 30 quid, and they may bounce and not want to study you because you tried to sell to them too soon. So I call this the customer journey. And the customer journey is the first time they see you, whether it's a pattern interrupt ad or whether they find you organically. Now, when they find you organically, there is less friction going through the client journey. And so you can probably make more offers. Like, people buy 20 quid Facebook Lives off me, 10 quid books. I've got loads of these little products. You don't perceive that I've got them, Harvey. That's just because I don't have a traditional funnel like the Americans do. One, because I've got multiple brands, and I just don't really like the squeezing idea of a funnel. I like a client to make their own decisions on their journey with me. And it's not squeezing down a funnel. It's more like, it's just a bit more organic, a bit more like snakes and ladders, I suppose. It can go multiple routes and go up multiple ladders. So you need to test in your own market what your client journey is. Now, for me, this is how it's worked best over the years, is to have a lot of free content across multiple platforms. So podcasts, YouTube, doing Facebook Lives and Facebook content and Facebook groups. And I've gone very wide. You can find me everywhere. Now, there's definitely an argument that I could actually just to focus on YouTube and I could have 1 million followers on one platform, or just podcasts and have, 10 million followers on that. I have got a lot of followers on my podcast, but I'm a variety guy. I like to do lots of different things. I look at the people who've got the biggest brands in the world and they're on all channels. So I've made that decision. And I'm going to let you get tens or even hundreds of hours of free content of me if you want. You could, if you had time, Harvey, if you had 3 months to kill, 12 hours a day, and your goal was you're not allowed to spend a penny with Rob, but you've got to find all his free content. You've got to consume it 12 hours a day for 3 months. You wouldn't even get halfway through. You wouldn't even get a tenth of the way through my content. I got my world record. I've got 600 odd podcasts on disruptive. I've got 150 plus on money. I've got on average 10 videos a week on Facebook going back 8 years. So I can overwhelm you with free content. And my goal there is for you to go, Rob's just given me so much stuff. I trust him. Then I don't need to be too pernickety about whether I give you an order bump or a 30 quid product, or because hopefully then you're going to go, right, I'm going to go deep with Rob now. What are his courses? What are his masterminds? I've had 3 people sign up to my 40 grand a year mastermind in the last 10 days when we're supposedly, much harder in lockdown, because people have been consuming my content for years, or they've been consuming my content for weeks, but years worth of content in weeks. So out of any UK influencer, I'm going to put my flag in the ground. There is no one in the UK that's pumping out as much content as me. I'm going to put my flag in the ground. And if you can find anyone, send them to me and I'll double down. I'll up my game. But people who listen to my podcast and buy my books, they become 20, 30, 50, 100, 150 grand clients over sort of a 5-year period. And that's because they could consume a load of content organically of their own volition and goodwill. Whereas if you force an ad on me, force an order bump on me, I might go, wait a minute, that's too much, bugger off. Yeah. So there's no right or wrong. You have to test the verticals. You have to do an A/B split test and work out your ideal client journey. And mine is loads of free stuff, then quite a lot at the sort of sub 30 quid Facebook Live events, supporters, stars, all the books. And then from there, I go straight to £1,000, 1,500 quid, 2 grand, which is all my course suite. And then masterminds, which is 5, 10 and 15 grand. And then mentoring, which is 40 grand. And that's the journey. Now, 15 years ago when I started, I had one book and I had one mastermind program at $2,000 and I had one course at $1,000. But, you know, because Progressive are the UK's largest property training company, and I am one of the most established, well-known and well-followed entrepreneurs, I'm of course able to increase the, the price points of my products and services. I also attract a lot of celebrities and multimillionaires as clients because I've been doing this a long time. So in all marketing, the answer lies in the test. You got to test.
Yeah, I've heard that say before. People vote with their credit cards or their wallets.
Yeah, they do.
So I'm just curious of it. I can see pros and cons both ways, and I'm toying. Should I launch it that way or push it forward that way?
Create 2 different verticals, 2 different ad campaigns, and send 50% of the traffic down each vertical, and you'll soon work out what works for you. And to be honest, it'll be niche dependent. What type of client is in that niche? It'll be dependent on the other products and services that you have. The reason people say these order bumps are good, the concept behind it is once someone spent once with you, they're much more likely to spend again with you. But you have to be careful not to push that order bump too hard and too soon.
Yeah, and that's where that's leading into that question. So I bought one of your stars things to get a shout out on your podcast. Fantastic value for me. And I see these other ones. I see you last night, you said you've rewrapped that and you're going to put it onto your website. And so I'm guessing that's a smaller product entry level. I'm just wondering if there was a strategic reason why you hadn't entered that into that, or it's because you've already tested it and feel that's where my audience lies. But just
quick one on that, Harvey. You have to be careful when you sell courses at 50 quid because you might cannibalize your 1,500 quid course.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to sell a course for 50 quid. Because if it's not good enough, people get pissed off that it's not good enough, even though they only paid 50 quid. And if it's too good, it undermines your $1,000 or 1,500 quid course. So actually that price point is quite awkward. And I'd rather spend more time giving good value and wow someone at 1,500 quid than waste time selling courses at 50 quid. Now, the reason I've been selling these sort of 3.5, 4 hour mini courses at 20 quid is because it's the Facebook Live events feature. And it's a new thing. And I'm one of the few entrepreneurs in the world that has this feature. I'm one of the few entrepreneurs in the world that has the supporters, one of the few entrepreneurs in the world that has the stars. In fact, I was one of the first 20 people in the world to have the stars feature. So I like to test out all these new social media features. One, because I get an account manager through Facebook, so I get a sort of a bit of special VIP treatment. They'll give me new features early if I use new features early. They're disruptive. When people see a new feature, they go for it until it becomes normal and everyone else has got it. And then over time, I probably go, oh, okay, I probably won't scale that up. I'm not going to sell loads of courses at 20 quid. It's too cheap. So I'll probably do a few of them and then I'll stop. Because I'd rather sell a course at 1,500 quid than 50 quid. Of course I would, or 20 quid.
Yeah, makes sense. Right, okay, I'm conscious of your time. I see we're getting towards the end of it. In a true modeling method, you do the quick fire questions at the end, and I want to model that a little bit because some of your ones, I'm quite curious of your answers. You might have answered them, but you said there's vast amounts of content out there what you've actually delivered. So going through that would be probably a lifetime's work for a lot of people. But yeah, some of the ones I've liked that you've asked that I just want to get your views back on them. I've got a couple of my own little ones in there. So one that really sticks out for me all the time is what's the best advice you've had and what's the worst advice you've had?
I think the best advice I've had is there's someone that's been there and done what you're struggling with. You know, standing on the shoulders of giants, leveraging the experience of others. If you want to get something done, go and seek someone out who's already done it. And wider society, the non-entrepreneurial mindset will tell you to work hard, make your own mistakes. You have to learn by doing and failing. Well, let me ask you this. Would you like to learn by doing and failing by going bust yourself? Or would you rather get advice and experience from someone who went bust so you can avoid that situation? So the best advice has been along the lines of get mentors, get support, ask for help, learn from those who've already been there and done it. For me, that is the non-get rich quick, get rich quicker. It's the quickest way. There's not a scheme or a scam to get successful. Model someone else, save yourself all the expensive mistakes and wasted time. And I've had lots of good advice around that. And then often the worst advice is you have to hustle 15 hours a day for 10 years to be successful. If you want to get something done, do it yourself. No one can do something as well as you. you know, no point hiring people because they'll mess up and you'll end up doing it yourself. You just got to learn by mistakes on the front line. I would often say that that's it's the polar opposite to the good advice, which is often, you know, the bad advice. I mean, look, some people have said to me that I'm not going to make it as an entrepreneur, you know, or I shouldn't get into property because it's the wrong time. You know, they've obviously been proven to be wrong. Some of my guests say, I don't really remember the bad advice because I remember good advice. And I would agree with that. Like if you asked me to say what the 5 bits of worst advice you've ever had, I would struggle because I think I just ignore it and just block it out of my mind. So yeah, they're my answers.
Excellent. Conscious of running out of time with this, so I'll cut my quick little fire ones. I was hoping to ask a few more, but
that's right. You ask all the quick fire, I'll answer them a bit quicker. We're good.
Yeah, excellent. One for me is achievement or fulfillment.
I don't think you can separate them because I think achievement leads to fulfillment and fulfillment is some form of achievement. I think we're biologically wired as a human being to seek growth and progress to evolve. I wouldn't separate them. I'd have them as a yin and a yang together.
Okay, great answer. What do you prefer, the hustle of earning it from the start, from being in debt to earning it, or the hustle of keeping it now, like these big disruption times, you're on a bigger playing field now? So what do you prefer, the hustle of making it or keeping it?
I think the present hustle and challenge, you know, the truck pull, everyone knows that in The World's Strongest Man. And, you know, you've got the strongest 200 something pound men, 200 or even 200 kilo men. And, you know, for the first half of that truck pull, that truck's going nowhere and it's hardly moving. And these guys are really struggling. And then, of course, towards the end, the truck's almost driving itself. And business is like that. And it's messy and chaotic and hard at the start. It's like when you plant a seed, you've got to grow the roots. So I'm kind of glad I've got beyond that stage. And, you know, I get to solve bigger, more meaningful problems. By the way, the downside now is bigger and I've got a lot more to lose. But yeah, I'd probably prefer the keep and growth hustle over the startup hustle if I had to choose. Okay,
excellent. And this is one you ask everybody. I still want to get your view on this. So this is definitely back to one of Rob's questions. They was mine in ones. But what's disruptive to you? As I said, I got disrupted at the start when I first come to the opportunity property income. I'm curious to see what's disruptive means to you. As you got voted it, not your own choice.
So for me, being disruptive is being contrarian, solving meaningful problems, observing the masses and doing the opposite. It is always challenging yourself to solve your own problems, disrupt yourself before someone else or a market disrupts you. It's about completely revolutionizing an industry or a way of doing things such that the existing way is almost outdated. And then the constant evolution and revolution of that journey.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. And one question at the end then is, you said this before, I heard you saying this loads of times, don't ask. Who do you think I should connect with next then? Would help me at the level I'm at, to expand me, drag me forward, interview them? Have you got any suggestions, anyone you could introduce me to? Similarly,
yeah, I have actually. So I would say Grant Cardone, and I'm going to give you a few reasons why. Number one is Grant will go on a lot of podcasts. And I could introduce you to some people and you probably won't get them because they're hard. Whereas Grant, he is Mr. 10X and he'll jump on any podcast. I've become really good friends with Grant. I really like a lot of his content and what he's about. I think he's often misunderstood. And, you know, I've hired him for events. I've worked with him. He's speaking at my Young Entrepreneurs Summit. Also, I think I've had him 3 times now on my podcast. And he's always really good value. He challenges norms. He gets you to think. You won't agree with everything he says, and you shouldn't. And he's quite divisive, and I don't see that as a bad thing. So, yeah, I would say Grant, because you'll probably make it happen as well.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Fantastic. Can you squeeze Mark Owen onto that list as well about my property questions as well?
Yeah, of course. Mark will be harder to get.
Yeah, I imagine so.
He's not really in the public domain. But yeah, I mean, look, if you want property, Mark's the guy to go to, isn't he? Don't get me wrong. It's not really sort of Mark's thing as much, but that doesn't mean you can't get him.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, they're my questions done, and just trying to squeeze it into that time. I could go on forever. There's loads that I missed out, but it went on different directions. But really enjoyed that, Rob. As I said, I've been an admirer of you for a long time. Been following your work, still a follower of it. I think somebody said you're the Pringles of content, and I think that's pretty good, accurate description. But yeah, thanks so much for your time today. Really enjoyed it, and yeah, looking forward to connecting with you again in the future.
My pleasure, Harvey. Thanks a lot.
And you, mate.
Cheers.